It's deadline day. This is Transfer Talk. So much has happened since you last saw the team on Good Morning Transfers. Lots for our team to discuss. We've got James, we've got Mark, we've got Ade. Dave's in the studio as well, and we'll be live to other members of the transfer team as well who are covering Premier League clubs today.
Yeah, very, very busy always on deadline day at Crystal Palace, and they're hoping to get some deals done before the 11 p.m. deadline. I'll be here right till the very end.
Yeah, I've just spoken to Nuno Espirito Santo, who's given me the inside track on what's going on here at Wolves, but Ryan Bennett is on his way to Leicester right now.
Yes, and from East London to West London, I did make it here before Jarrod Bowen, and he is still expected to be on arrival here at West Ham today. We'll bring you the latest on the forwards move.
And I'm here at North London. I'm at Watford's training ground where I bumped into Nigel Pearson a few moments ago, so I'll tell you what he's had to say.
At Newcastle, they've signed 3 players already this January transfer window, and just in the last hour or so, Steve Bruce let slip that they almost broke their transfer record to sign Boubakary Soumaré from Lille for £40 million.
And we are in the heart of the newsroom. This is where all the action happens on deadline day, where all of our pictures and cameramen come into the building, and we will turn around all the pictures for you on Sky Sports News. And we want to hear from you as well. Hashtag deadline day is the way to get in touch.
Come on, Dave, get yourself into that chair because we need you. But we're going to start with Manchester United. Big developments involving their pursuit of a striker. They've had a bid for Bournemouth's Joshua King rejected. Let's get to James Cooper, who's going to be outside Old Trafford all day and night for us. James, Solskjaer says he doesn't expect to do any more business. Well, do we believe him?
Wow, you made that sound so tempting. We're actually inside. It does look better than being outside, but we will be outside later on this longest of days. But in terms of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's interesting. I think he has the playbook handed down to him by Sir Alex Ferguson, who certainly sometimes, when it suited Manchester United and when it suited Sir Alex, was perhaps a little bit economical with the truth. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, look, he didn't expect any more business to be done. I think they would still like to get a striker, and I think for many reasons Josh King does fit that bill. He's someone that Manchester United know all about. He's someone that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has coached as a youngster, and he's someone that also gives different attributes to the likes of Anthony Martial and of course Mason Greenwood, so you can see why it might fit. But I think one of the problems there is that Bournemouth would need to get a player in to allow Josh King perhaps to move somewhere else, and we're a long way from that happening and there isn't much time left. But in terms of what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says, and I'm not going to say you shouldn't trust him as Manchester United manager, but I think he probably has got his reasons for saying sometimes what he says. But here's what he said this morning on Manchester United and whether there will be any transfer business in the dying hours of this transfer window.
You know, there's many speculations in the transfer windows. Now it's probably going to be the summer window we start on. But I'm very happy with the club and how we've conducted things and how we stick to our beliefs and values as well. We've just got to stay true and stay in control. That's what we have to do, and we can't let the outside noise run what we're going to do and what decisions we make. We've got Bruno in, and that's a fantastic deal to have in January.
Is that a polite way of saying there's nothing more going to happen, or is it a polite way of saying that something might happen?
I try to be polite anyway.
I know.
Try to be respectful, and of course I know all the speculations about us. No, but I said about breaking a nose as a striker, you know, maybe Mason Oranto can break a nose.
It's interesting, when you're trying to work through the semaphore and work exactly what kind of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is saying there. I think you can see there was a little bit of discontent, a little bit of hurt in his eyes when you think about Erling Haaland. I think that was a player that Manchester United, as a striker, thought they'd done the business on, and they thought he'd be a Manchester United player by now. Now, that didn't happen. He's at Dortmund, and what makes that situation worse, having missed out on him, is he's scoring goals for fun. It means that they are still looking for someone right now. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm not sure. But I think, you know, Josh King is someone who probably would come to Manchester United, wouldn't be overawed by Manchester United, knows all about the club. So, again, you can see how it's a viable option. I guess there is an argument, perhaps, that if Bournemouth are looking for a replacement for Josh King, then what on earth are Manchester United doing shopping for somebody who Bournemouth are trying to let go of? But they do know the player. Ollie knows the player. And I guess, you know, as the song goes, in Ollie, perhaps we trust.
James, thank you. OK, so we heard from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there on potentially bringing in a striker. Let's hear from the Bournemouth manager, Eddie Howe, on the situation with Joshua King.
He's a massive, massive part of our team, has been for a long period of time. He brings that unique pace and strength that he has, coupled with a really good technical ability and an eye for goal. So he's been a massive part of what we've done the last few years here. So speaking as the manager of the club, I'd be very reluctant to lose a player of that quality. And I think the difficulty from our perspective is how late it is in the window. A day to go is incredibly difficult to find a replacement for a player of that quality. I love Josh as a player and a person, respect him greatly. And I know his situation. I know what Manchester United means to him, with his history connected with the club. So I understand his position. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, wait and see, says Eddie Howe. And Mark, you know him well. You go to Bournemouth a lot. I thought that was a really interesting answer on Joshua King.
Yeah, quite simply, if you ask me right now with, just less than 11 hours to go, whether Joshua King will be a Manchester United player at the end of today, I can't give you an honest answer. I don't know. I think this is one that will go right down to the wire. Interesting to see Eddie Howe's comments there. It's out of his control. We'll have to wait and see. And he knows what Manchester United means to Joshua King. We all know about the link with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it's quite interesting that a few years ago Ole Gunnar Solskjaer joked with Joshua King and said, one day I'll come and get you and bring you back to United. And could that day be today? He's a player that has a great record for Bournemouth. He's been an instrumental part of keeping them in the Premier League since he joined in the summer of 2015. He scored 6 goals in 23 appearances for club and country. And I say country, Norway. We know what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was like when he played for Norway, so there's that connection there. So this is one, I think, if it was any other club, Bournemouth would find it really difficult to turn this down and say absolutely no chance is this going to happen. But because Joshua King has this affinity with Manchester United and an affection for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his old reserve team manager, it makes it really, really difficult because this transfer will pull on the heartstrings.
Yeah, well, that's one striker in demand. There's another striker in demand as well because Newcastle have had bids turned down for Olivier Shirou, but they also had a record offer for a midfielder rejected as well. And Keith Downey was speaking to Steve Bruce this morning. Keith, do we know who that midfielder was?
Yeah, Tom, it was really interesting this morning, I must say, because I asked him about Olivier Giroud, expecting him to give me a little bit of information as to why he didn't come here to Newcastle. Steve Bruce revealed that he'd tried not once but twice to bring him here. He feels he's exhausted all attempts to bring in a striker now. But then he volunteered the information that he'd had what he said was a near club record bid turned down by the player for a player at a foreign club. That's what he said. He said the deal had been agreed between Newcastle United and the selling club, but the player himself decided against the move. So just listen to this. This is Steve Bruce earlier on this morning when he volunteered the information, and I asked him a little bit more about it.
We had a bid accepted, which would have nearly got to a transfer window. Record transfer. 8 days ago, where we had it accepted by the club, and unfortunately the player wanted to stay where he was. So, we were active, we were really, really active, and it didn't quite happen. So, as I said to you, we'll just have to wait and see what we can do in the summer.
Was that for Giroud or for someone else?
For someone else.
So off the back of that, I then obviously asked Steve Bruce if he would tell us the name. He said no, he won't do that. I asked him the position. He said, OK, I'll tell you, he's a midfielder. I asked him his age. He said, no, I'm not telling you that either. And he said, it's up to you guys to go away and try and work out who it was. So we made a few calls. We spoke to some relevant people. And although Newcastle United as a club weren't willing to give us any further information on that, we can tell you that bid, that close to club record bid for the player was for Boubakary Soumaré of Lille, a 20-year-old midfielder. Of course, you'll remember he's been linked throughout this window with both Manchester United and Chelsea, but Newcastle had a bid which we understand to be around £35 million, rising to £40 million with add-ons, turned down, not by Lille, agreed by Lille, but turned down by the player. That sounds as though, from the bits and pieces we're hearing, is one that Newcastle may return to in the summer. So they failed for that move for Boubakary Soumaré. But they have added, as you know, 3 other transfers in this window. Valentino Lazaro arrived on loan last week from Inter Milan. Nabil Bentaleb arrived on loan from Schalke with an option to buy last week as well. He made his debut at the weekend. And then just yesterday, of course, we were here at the training ground as Danny Rose arrived for his medical on a loan deal from Tottenham Hotspur until the end of the season. Rose keen to get some game time under his belt to ensure that he's in England's plans for the upcoming Euro campaign. So I think all in all, it's been a good window for Newcastle United so far. 3 in the door, all loan deals. They failed with that move for Olivier Giroud and came so close it sounds, to bringing that £40 million man Boubakary Soumare here to Newcastle United.
Keith, thank you. Yeah, Keith will be there all day, and there could be more. OK, right. Olivier Giroud has been a wanted man, all right? Just the latest on this, by the way, with Shirou. We know he's not going to Newcastle. Lazio's sporting director, Iglitare, is on his way to London in the hope of finalising a deal with Chelsea to sign Olivier Giroud. That's according to Sky in Italy. Inter Milan also still working hard to sign him as well. OK, so that's Olivier Giroud. But in terms of the Newcastle deal, Ade, they wanted a striker and he would have been perfect for them, wouldn't he?
It would have been perfect for them. It would have been perfect for a lot of teams, it seems like, in the Premier League and abroad as well. Look, Newcastle have lacked goals. We know he's a goal scorer. We've seen it with Arsenal, with Chelsea, even with the French national team as well. This Giroud situation's an interesting one. At the start of the transfer window, I was on this show and I said, look, he's definitely going into Inter Milan. I thought it was a done deal. Inter Milan had a bid rejected, but Chelsea and Inter Milan were about €1 million off. That went cold when Fernando Llorente then seemed to be the first choice from Napoli. That didn't work out. Then it was Tottenham, Newcastle, Crystal Palace. It looks like the situation with Giroud right now is he ain't going nowhere unless Chelsea brings someone in. Yeah. If Chelsea don't bring Dries Mertens in or someone else, looks like they won't let Giroud go. And that makes sense, right? Tammy Abraham's injured right now. So they really only have one backup striker. So why let Olivier Giroud go when you know you're short in that position yourself?
But that makes sense for Chelsea, but does it make sense for Olivier Giroud? With the Euros coming up in the summer, I've said it before in the show, Didier Deschamps must be begging Olivier Giroud for a move so he can play some football before the Euros start in the summer. He's got to be, because he's not going to get the game time at Chelsea. We've seen that. Even with an injury to Tammy Abraham, I don't believe he's going to get the game time. I'm really surprised if he stays put this window.
Right, well, Leicester have made a surprise move for the Wolves centre-back Ryan Bennett, and Rob Dorset is at the club's training ground. Rob, has he turned up yet?
He's just arrived, Tom. We can show you the pictures. Have a look at this. This is Ryan Bennett arriving in his white 4x4 just minutes ago. And my cameraman, Anthony Hagan, got a cracking shot of him. Have a look in the wing mirror on the right-hand side. Just as he pulls up to talk to security, you can clearly see that is Wolverhampton Wanderers centre-back Ryan Bennett. He gives a little thumbs up to the security guard before driving in. We expect him to now undergo a medical before completing a deal that will see him stay here at Leicester for the remainder of the season. But Leicester do crucially have an option to make that deal a permanent transfer in the summer if they so wish. Have to say this one caught us totally by surprise because Bennett's been playing for Wolves. 19 appearances this season. Something of a surprise that Nuno Espirito Santo would let him go, you have to say. But looking at the stats, he hasn't played since New Year's Day for Wolves. So he is, at the moment, surplus to requirements. Leicester were desperate for a centre-back. They sold Harry Maguire in the summer for £80 million. Hadn't brought in any reinforcements since then. But they weren't getting good value in the market. That was the message I was being given. They didn't want to spend a big chunk of that money unless they could get exactly the right target. So Ryan Bennett comes in to add to the numbers to compete for a place against the likes of Johnny Evans and Kagler Soyuncu. But crucially, if they can get this deal over the line before the 11 o'clock deadline, no reason why they can't now. They've got plenty of time today, in truth, because it's a loan deal. Then that will be a big relief for Brendan Rodgers. It means he can go into the second half of the season as they chase Champions League football with some more security if they were to get any injury problems at the back.
Rob, thank you. Yeah, Ryan Bennett, a very solid centre-back. Now, Jarrod Bowen is having a medical at West Ham ahead of a £20 million deal, and one of our transfer team, JD Dye, has made his way out to West Ham now and has the latest.
Yes, Tom, I mean, how many times have we sat on that same news desk and spoke about Jarrod Bowen throughout this whole window, in fact, and many of us thought coming into deadline day he'd actually probably be South London, I'm talking in terms of Crystal Palace, but talks advanced overnight with West Ham. They agreed a fee with Howe, that £20 million fee, and they agreed personal terms as well, and as you said, he's on his way down here right now to complete his medical, and at that point you have to think to yourself, well, West Ham, what type of player are they getting? I mean, a direct, skillful, but more importantly, a goal scorer. He's tenacious, he really, really does love scoring goals. Over 50 goals now in almost 3 seasons in the Championship with Hull, and he has been pushing for a move and kind of showing with his skills, with his performances, that he will be ready for the Premier League. And looking at this West Ham team as well, you think about they sold Carroll, Arnautovic, Hernandez, Perez. That's a lot of goal scorers to leave in the previous window. And only to bring in Sebastian Haller, you have to think, and I don't want to get you too excited, West Ham fans, but you have to think, adding Jarrod Bowen to this team is going to bring you what you want more than anything else, goals at the London Stadium.
JD, thank you. Right, OK, we're going to head straight to Tim Thornton at Sheffield United's training ground because I'm told he has a very special guest alongside him. And he does. Hi, Tim.
Yeah, Tom, transfer deadline day on Sky Sports News, and we have Sheffield United's record signing with me, Sander Berge, or Sander Berger, should I say. How is that pronunciation, first of all?
We had some nicknames going on in the group, but I think Berge was the last from Billy Sharp, so we'll keep it like that.
How does it feel to be Sheffield United's record signing?
Fantastic. Of course, a dream coming true, and the club's really shown that they wanted me here, and felt like I've been part of a family for 1.5 days, and it's lovely to be here, and I'm already trained 2 times, so it feels good.
Chris Wilder's been tracking you for quite some time. Is that a real boost to your confidence, the fact that the manager's got so much faith in you?
Yeah, that was the main reason why I came here and I chose this club. I've spoken with Chris and I've been admiring the team for a long time now and how they play, but also how he handles the personal perspective of everybody and the dressing room, and it seems like a fantastic group, so I'm just looking forward to contribute from day one.
Do you think your style will suit this team?
What do you say?
Your style, the way you play, will it suit the team?
I hope so. I think it's a system that will fit me well, and of course it's about adapting as soon as possible. But it's a physical, strong team, and we have good lines, and the way we want to play is very clear. So I think I'll get used to it quick.
You've already played in the Champions League and the Europa League. When you get back there with Sheffield United?
That's the dream, and of course that's our ambition, to win as much games as possible, and then we'll see where we are when the season is finished.
And you mentioned the 2 training sessions already. How have you fitted in with the rest of the lads?
Very good. It's been easy when they're such on a helping hand, and everybody is trying to get me in and comfortable, and I'm just trying to play my game, and then you learn more and more every day.
Are you excited at the prospect of a Premier League debut this weekend?
Yeah, of course. I'm travelling with a team, and for me it's just to work hard every day and trying to get as much playing time as possible. But of course it starts out there, and I'm looking forward to travel and to feel the atmosphere of the first Premier League game.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us on Sky Sports News. The record signing here at Sheffield United, and this is the life of a Premier League footballer. He signed yesterday, he trained yesterday, trained today. Now he's heading off to fly down to the capital ahead of the game with Crystal Palace tomorrow.
Wasn't sure whether to get out a Tim shot or not. Their brilliant work, though, to hear from their record signing. Next on Transfer Talk, we're going to be joined by a very special guest, a man who knows exactly what deadline day is all about. Of course, it's Harry Redknapp. He will be live with us next.
Welcome back to Transport Talk. Now, it wouldn't be deadline day without speaking to one of my favourite football managers, someone who knows the game inside out, someone who has managed in the Premier League, up and down the EFL and, of course, the Champions League. And without doubt, this man knows how to sign a player. It is, of course, Harry Redknapp, who has taken time out of his day to speak to us on deadline day. Now, Harry, you spoke at the start of the window. It's been fairly quiet. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. It's probably, Mark, you know, lots of teams. It's a difficult window, you know. You've got to, unless you're in trouble and you're trying to, you know, maybe make the top 4 or whatever, or try to stay in the division, really you don't want to be doing any business. Only if you're a bit desperate, you know, and you need somebody that might give you that push to get where you want to get. So it's not a great window. So I think the managers really have been pretty quiet this year.
Obviously, you know what it's like on deadline day. What is it like? Give us an insight. Harry, obviously, I think we lost the line there. You know what deadline day is like. You've been there in the cut and thrust of it. You've had to sign players on deadline day. Is your phone red hot? What's it like as a manager? Give us an insight. OK, I think we've got a few problems with the line with Harry Redknapp there. We'll try our very best to get him back on the show in a few moments' time and find out exactly what it's like to be a Premier League manager on deadline day, because one man that does know is, of course, Harry Redknapp.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll try to get back to him, and I'm sure we will be able to. I think maybe just his earpiece has just gone. Right, OK, we're going to talk about Leicester, all right, because the latest there, we heard from Rob Dawson, didn't we, that the Wolves centre-back Ryan Bennett is on his way for a medical. We've seen him arrive, OK. He hasn't taken part in Wolves' final training session before tomorrow's game against Manchester United, and he left this morning to go there. OK, right, Ryan Bennett, Dave, I described him there as a solid centre-back, and that's exactly what Leicester need, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, they lost Harry Maguire last summer, and Brendan Rodgers has been looking for cover. Filip Benkovic, they're now going to let out on loan, but I think it's a deal that makes sense not only for Leicester but for Wolves as well. Ryan Bennett's been a fantastic servant for Wolves, helping them to promotion, helping them have such a good season last year, finishing high in the Premier League, getting to the FA Cup semi-finals as well. And it's just unfortunate that this season Romain Saiz, Leander Dendoncker have been ahead of him in the pecking order, and then someone like Max Kilman, who's coming through at Wolves, has done particularly well in the Europa League when he's been given the opportunity as well. So it's just unfortunate for Ryan that he's found opportunities limited this season at Wolves, and now it seems that Leicester might be able to offer him a little bit more, perhaps.
Yeah, OK, still trying to get Harry Redknapp back on the line, by the way. But to Crystal Palace now, they've been gazumped in their attempts to sign Jarrod Bowen, but they have an alternative. Michael Bridge is outside Palace's training ground. What's the latest, Michael?
Hi, Tom. Well, they'll certainly be looking. I was told that there was no huge interest in Jarrod Bowen. If West Ham were to pay the big fee, then so be it. Obviously, they've got a wealth of attacking options as well, with Wilf Zaha obviously still here as well. But it's Nathan Ferguson is the key signing they want over the line today. Now, you might have seen reports of a potential issue with his medical. Obviously, that was trying to see how serious that is. It's a fantastic medical department here at Crystal Palace. So as soon as I get confirmation on that, I will let you know, because quite a serious issue on any medical complications. So we'd be absolutely wrong to say anything until I've got confirmation on that. But you would have seen reports. But Nathan Ferguson, they're big fans of him. Roy Hodgson has looked at him for quite some time. He can play right back, left back, of course, and he'd probably fit straight into that Crystal Palace side. So more on that as I get it. Jordan Ibe, there is talk of Jordan Ibe interest. Again, Palace might look at that later in the day if Bournemouth were prepared to let him go. Of course, he's got only 6 months left on his contract as well. Talk of Eze of Queen's Park Rangers. I'm told that now is not the case. There might be interest revived potentially in the summer. But look, I was quiet here a year ago at this time, 12 months ago. Things always happen here. I am always hopeful at Crystal Palace. Remember, they've brought in Cenk Tosun as well already, Crystal Palace. But we'll see. I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry. We'll get there, Tom.
We're not worried, Michael. Don't worry. Thank you. Right, plenty on the way. We'll be back with the transfer team around the grounds as teams look to get their business done before the deadline.
Welcome back to Transfer Talk. Now, before the break, we were speaking to Harry Redknapp, but the technology wasn't playing ball with us. But we have got Harry back. There he is. Let's get straight into today then, Harry. It could be a huge day for so many Premier League sides. One of the moves that could happen, Joshua King at Bournemouth to Manchester United. You're a Bournemouth season ticket holder. How important is he to Eddie Howe? And potentially, how big a signing could it be for Manchester United?
Sorry, Mark. Who's going from Bournemouth?
Joshua King. There was a late bid by Manchester United to Bournemouth last night that was rejected, but we are expecting Manchester United to go back in with a second offer today.
Really? He's a good player, Josh King. I mean, he was at Man United at one time, so he's been at the club before. I mean, he would be a big loss to Bournemouth. I mean, you know, King's been a big player for Bournemouth the last couple of years. He's got pace, power, he's got skill, he can score goals. I think he's a real good player.
This is the window for a striker. We know there are a lot of Premier League clubs looking for strikers. Another one that is on the lips of so many fans is Olivier Giroud. We're expecting him to move on deadline day. Where do you think would suit him? Spurs, maybe, Manchester United even, or a team in Italy?
Oh, listen, Spurs would be a great move for him. You know, if he went to Tottenham, they're looking at the moment, Harry's injured, Harry Kane, so he would probably go into their team. They'd probably have to change their style a little bit. You know, he's you know, he's not going to be running channels or playing, you know, the type of movement that Harry played, you know, with ball slipped up the side. They'd have to get the ball in the box to him to be effective, but there's no reason they can't do that. I mean, Olivier Giroud's a top player, World Cup winner, so, yeah, he'd be a good signing for Tottenham.
Looking at the Premier League sides at the sharp end and those down at the bottom, who do you feel needs to do the most business today?
Well, I think the teams at the bottom, like when you're struggling down there, I think West Ham have made a great signing. I'm a big fan of the lad, you know, the boy at Howe. I think he's a real good player. I looked at him last week against Chelsea in the Cup, and I thought, I wonder if Frank would fancy taking him to Chelsea. His movement, he gets in the box, he comes off them wide positions, he scores goals, he works. I think the West Ham fans will really enjoy having the boy Bowen at their club. I think he's a real good player, a real good signing for West Ham.
You mentioned Frank Lampard there, obviously family connection. How many times has Frank phoned you up and asked for some advice? Because obviously you watch football day in, day out, you know so many players and you still very much are involved with the game.
No, not really. I mean, Frank's his own man. I mean, Frank, you know, he does his own thing. I talk to him and, you know, I love what he's doing there at Chelsea. But, you know, I think it's probably a difficult window. He's not probably desperate to do anything, really. I think he's looked at one or two players. I think there's been a friend of mine in France used to play for me actually, and a very good judge. And he mentioned a boy, Girassi at Amiens, who's a striker. And he was surprised that no one had taken him on loan. He's available on a loan with an option or whatever. Big, strong striker. I don't know him. I haven't seen him, but he tells me he's a very good player. And I thought someone might have come in for him. But, no, I think Frank's probably quite happy at the moment with the squad he's got. The young players are coming through. And he'll probably wait maybe till the summer and make a couple of big signings.
Oh, that's interesting to hear. Obviously, Harry, we know that you've been involved with many deadline days at some of the clubs you've been involved with. What stories and memories do you have of this day? Because it can be quite chaotic.
It can, yeah, but, you know, I bought players. Listen, some of them come off, some don't. I remember taking Di Canio almost on right at the end of the window and taking him to West Ham against everybody else's judgment. You know, everybody said I was crazy to take Di Canio. But he was a genius and the West Ham fans absolutely loved him. And I knew they would because he was a special talent. He was their type of player, you know. And at Portsmouth, I took a little lad called D'Alessandro from Wolfsburg. He was an Argentinian international, number 10. Again, a genius of a footballer, and he kept us up that. He played a massive part in keeping us in the Premier League. I'd gone back to Portsmouth. We were bottom of the league, and I made a couple of loan signings, and he was one of them, and he just came in and set the place alight. He was incredible.
And Harry, obviously, we know it's deadline day, we know it's dramatic, it's exciting, and for you, someone who has obviously spent so many years operating in the Premier League, will you be keeping an eye on what happens today on deadline day, watching Sky Sports News?
Yes, yeah, I mean, I'm away, as you can see at the moment. This is not my back garden, Mark, I promise you. It's probably raining. I'm in Dubai.
Fantastic. And Harry's back garden is actually...
I'm in Dubai at the moment, so, I mean, yeah, I'm sitting outside. Unfortunately, this is not my back garden.
I can confirm Harry's back garden is a lot nicer than that one in Dubai. Fantastic, Harry. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, guys.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks, Harry. Well done, Mark, getting him on. Right, we're going to go to Watford now because Emma Payton, part of our transfer team, is there. Watford second bottom in the league. Emma, any sign of Nigel Pearson's reinforcements?
There's actually been a sign of Nigel Pearson, Tom. He walked past a little while ago, came over to shake my hand, and he asked me if I would be at the training ground until that 11 o'clock deadline tonight, to which I replied, well, you tell me, which he laughed at. But yeah, I'm getting more and more optimistic that there will be incomings here at Watford today. A player that we know they want to bring into the club is Burnley centre-back Ben Gibson. They had a loan offer rejected for him earlier this week. It's thought that Burnley really would ideally like to sell him on a permanent deal. He was a player they brought in on a club record transfer back in 2018, but he's barely featured for them, really. Another player we know they are interested in and are keen on bringing to the club is the Birmingham City left-back Christian Pedersen. It's really just whether they can get a deal over the line today. I've had loads of Watford fans getting in touch asking me if Pedersen will be coming to the club. I've also had a Birmingham City fan get in touch as well. Nick, he tweeted me saying, Emma, can you please tell Nigel Pearson that Pedersen is a really, really bad player? Yeah, clearly Birmingham City fans do not want to let one of their key players go, do they? But talking of players leaving, could there be any leaving Watford here today? There are 3 players I've been told could leave the club on loan before the 11 o'clock deadline. One of them is Domingos Quina. He's had interest from a number of clubs. One of those is West Brom, who are obviously doing really well in the Championship at the moment. The other players are Isaac Success and Tom Deli Bashiru, so there could be some outgoings and hopefully some incomings as well. And who knows, I might even be here until 11 o'clock tonight.
Brilliant, Emma, thank you. Right, let's get to another member of our team, Anton Tolui, who was at Wolves. We know they've let Ryan Bennett leave for Leicester. OK, Anton, any need to bring in a replacement?
Well, I spoke to Nuno about an hour ago, and he said he seemed ridiculously relaxed actually for deadline day. As a car alarm goes off just as I'm speaking, absolutely fantastic. Anyway, yeah, Nuno seemed very, very relaxed. Said he wasn't particularly looking to bring in another replacement. He's happy with the players he has, but there is a player in the Wolves training complex right now who they expect to sign today. He's currently having a medical. It's Luke Matheson, the highly touted teenage right back from Rochdale. A fee of around £1 million has been agreed. He is expected to go back out on loan to Rochdale for the rest of the season, but he is of course a right back, so will probably be more likely to be a developmental prospect to come in to compete with Mac Doherty in the summer. So interesting that centre back isn't the priority. How we found out about Ryan Bennett's actually quite interesting. When we arrived here at about 10:30 this morning, heard this shout of "Bye Benno." Sorry about the Scouse accent, but it was Connor Cody shouting to him as he left. Ryan Bennett got in his car and we saw him leave. There you go. So we knew he was on his way, quickly found out he was on his way to Leicester City.
Yeah, still could be busy for you, Anton. Thank you. Right, we all did transfer predictions on the opening day of Good Morning Transfers. We're going to be revealing who's got theirs right and wrong next, and we're going to be talking Arsenal as they get a new defender. Loads still to come on deadline day. Following us, it's David Garrido and Jessica Crichton, and an excellent guest alongside them as well. David, what can we look forward to?
Oh, we've got so much to look forward to. Do you know what, Tom? We've always had previous of big moves on deadline day, even in the winter, from A to Z, from Arshavin to Zaha. I just wonder, Jess, will we get that jaw dropper today? Might we get that big move? It's exciting, isn't it? You get
I would
sense
love to
something's
see
gonna
it.
happen.
Yeah, you can feel the energy. You can feel that something big might just be about to happen. To discuss it all with us this afternoon, Eni Aluko, ex-England forward, of course, England Centurion. Lovely to have you with us.
Thank you.
What are you most excited about seeing today? Do you feel as though there could be that one big move?
I hope so. I hope so for the sake of the day. I think one big move I would love to see would be Cavani to Chelsea. Wow. I think it's tricky to see whether it would happen because it is the last day. But I think Chelsea need another striker to take the pressure off Tammy Abraham. But also Dries Martins from Napoli. I think they haven't really replaced Eden Hazard yet. He would be a good signing, tricky player, creative number 10. But Cavani to Chelsea, I think, would be the big move for the day.
Fans would love that. Yeah. But what happens usually is that you need one move to trigger another move and a domino effect starts. So could it be Giroud leaving Chelsea?
So there's so many machinations, and I wish we could get into it here, but it's not just Eni who'll be with us, Matt Le Tissier and also Chris Boyd. All bases covered. We'll see you at 1 o'clock.
Brilliant, looking forward to that. Right, OK, as promised, we're going to talk about Arsenal now because they've completed the signing of Southampton right-back Cedric Suarez. Now, it's on loan to the end of the season, but his contract expires at the end of the season. They also brought in Pablo Mari on loan from Flamengo earlier this week with that option to buy. We've got some quotes from Arsenal's technical director and their former midfielder, Edu, about Cedric. He said, Cedric is a defender with good experience of the Premier League and, of course, at international level. He is another strong addition to our defensive unit who will provide our squad with quality. I know he is a player who plays with absolute full commitment and energy. We are looking forward to going in the last stages of the season with Cedric as part of the club. OK, James, Cedric, is this a sensible signing from Arsenal?
Yeah, it's a sensible signing. I don't think it will be one that Arsenal fans will jump up and down and celebrate about like we saw with Mesut Ozil a few years ago on a deadline day in the summer. But you know, Premier League experience, he can play both right back and left back. He's been a good servant for Southampton. He seems very keen to join Arsenal. He has actually said that a deal was potentially going to happen a few years ago but fell through. So he's excited to be a part of Arsenal and the project. It's needed. Hector Bellerin has his injury problems, obviously since his big injury last season. Hasn't really maintained that fitness, so we do need cover. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has impressed, but you know, Premier League proven right back. I think it's a solid signing for Arsenal.
Yeah, and Dave, they did. Everyone used to get in touch, hashtag transfer talk, Arsenal fans saying need to improve the defence. Well, they've signed a centre back and a right back.
Absolutely. We came into this window saying that Arsenal wanted to get in a centre back, and they've got a centre back, and we also said they needed cover in the full-back positions as well, and they've ended up doing that. And as James quite rightly pointed out, the fact that he can play at right back and left back will fill a couple of holes there for Arsenal and Unai Emery. And we've said all along in this window that Arsenal weren't going to make signings that require significant investment because they have committed to paying 150, 160 million pounds in a previous transfer window. So it was always going to be a fairly quiet window for Arsenal. But I think when a signing makes sense like that, I think it's a sensible one for Arsenal.
In Ade, there were reports linking Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with a move away. Well, that hasn't happened. He's staying. That must be great for Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, it's imperative he stays. I think we've seen so far in this January transfer window, everyone's looking for a top striker. They've got one there in Pierre Aubameyang. Since he's been at Arsenal, 91 games, 57 goals. I mean, that's better than 1 in 2. So we know we can put the ball in the back of the net. That's supposed to be the hardest job to do in football. This guy does it very, very well. My only question with Aubameyang and Arteta, I mean, is he the type of striker that Arteta wants? We saw him in the first couple of games running back, playing left back in some occasions. Will he continually do that? He doesn't look like the type of striker that wants to keep going up and down. He wants to play up front and stay up front. You do wonder if that works. Lacazette kind of fits that mould. Does Aubameyang? It's going to be interesting in the summer with Barcelona coming again.
Yeah, and Mark, in the summer, there was an agreement that Arsenal actually had quite a good window, but this season hasn't gone their way. They've even had to change their manager. But this window, maybe just letting the players gel a little bit more and bringing in those defensive reinforcements, it can only help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a project at Arsenal. I think the board are behind Mikel Arteta. They took a long time to make the decision to say goodbye to Unai Emery, and they've replaced him with a man that they were all confident could do the job and take Arsenal forward, because they have stuttered and stumbled over the last few years, let's be honest. So I think this is the start of the process. I think it's a long process, as Manchester United fans know, but you certainly get the feeling that they are comfortable with what they've got. They've made the additions they want, and then in the summer they will make significant changes.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to you, Mark, because we're going to get the latest now from Brighton. You know that club well. Is they going to be active today?
They could be. I think they're on the verge of completing a signing today. Chelsea fullback Tariq Lamptey. Now this is a fascinating one. One of the many players to come out of the Chelsea academy. Another promising, exciting player. But this would be a permanent deal. One thing I love about this lad, he's only 5'4", but he is absolutely rapid. He's a player that is so quick, but he's great for his age. He's been described to me as the best fullback at his age in the country. So Brighton getting a really attack-minded fullback here that could be really important, because they've never really replaced Bruno.
Right.
So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, very highly rated. And tell you what, we're going to have to go straight to Tottenham, because I believe that our reporter, Paul Gilmore, he does have Jose Mourinho alongside him, live on Transfer Talk. Take it away, Paul.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, delighted to say Jose Mourinho has joined us. Jose, thank you for your time. We are in the middle of a transfer window, of course, final day. You've done some business already. I mean, how would you sum up the business that has been done?
Us?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Good. We signed, in a funny way, Hugo Lloris and Jeff Tanganga. And then we got Jetson on a loan to try to compensate departure of Christian and the injury of Musa. And then I think we got a kid with an amazing potential that is going to be cared and developed, and I think will be a fantastic player for us over the next years, and a player that the fans will learn how to love, because I think is the kind of profile of player that our fans will love it.
What sort of options does someone like Steven Bergwijn give you, especially when it comes to that central striker option and Harry Kane missing? If you don't get a striker in today, does that allow Heung-min Son to play there and Bergwijn wide? Does it give you more options?
He's not taking option. Of course, he's not a striker. He's a player that likes to play from the sides. On PSV, more from the left side. On the national team, more from the right side. So for him, it doesn't make a difference. And again, he's not a player to resolve the problems of today, because our future is not today or tomorrow. It's long term, and a profile of player very, very young, very adapted to the way that we want to try to play football, and we are so happy to have him.
And how well equipped are you for the squad this week going into the Manchester City game? Are we likely to see Bergwijn, first of all? Is he likely to be in the squad?
Yeah, he'll be in the squad. We don't have many options, and he's fit. He comes from competition. He's ready to play. One thing is to start or to be on the bench. 2-3 days enough for him to learn the way we want to think, the way we want to play, or does he need more time? But in any case, of course, he will be involved.
You go into the Manchester City game, 12 games into the season, Tottenham had thrown away 12 points from winning positions. Since you have come in 12 games, no points given away from winning positions. What have you changed, and what's the key to that?
I don't know. I didn't know these stats. I don't think it's about winning positions. I think it's about the result in the end of the game. And we should have more points than we have. We played for better results than we got. I think, especially in the last matches, we could have much better results against Watford, against Liverpool, even in the cup against Southampton. We should do better. But I think the team is improving step by steps. Sometimes we think that we took off, and then we have a new problem to resolve. But let's be positive, and it's exciting times, and we play big matches in the Premier League. The Champions League is arriving. The FA Cup, of course, we have a replay, but if we do win that match, we are in the last 16. So exciting times are arriving, and problems are not problems. Problems are to be resolved the best we can, and to face with a smile what is coming. And of course, what is coming is a fantastic opponent, great coach, amazing players, double champions. But I think we are going to enjoy to play against them.
Jose, thank you. We really appreciate your time. Much more from Jose Mourinho. We'll be heading to his press conference shortly. But for the meantime, it's back to you.
Great stuff, Paul. Great to hear from Jose Mourinho. Right, we've just got time to go through some of our transfer predictions that we put in on the first day. Alice Piper, Darren Randolph to West Ham. That happened. Well done. Ade Oladipo, Emre Can to Manchester United. Unlucky Ade. Mark McAdam, Bournemouth. This is amazing. To lose a key player in this window. That was on the 3rd of January, by the way. James, I don't know if you said James there. Giroud to Newcastle. All right, well, they tried, so that's fair enough.
Close.
Dave Reed, Ericsson to sign a new contract at Tottenham. Didn't happen. Anton said to stay at Tottenham. JD said Nathan Ake to Chelsea. Emma said Ericsson to Inter Milan. Well done to Emma. Michael, Jan Vertonghen to stay. I said Leicester will sign a centre-back. Good, that is still on. And Joe talks about the Transfer Talk podcast live in London at the start of February. Thank you to all of the transfer team. Loads more on the way.